Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, The Sarthak Show, where we discuss about tech, career, product and life. And today we have a very special guest, 𝐏𝐚𝐲. She's working as a software engineer at Atlassian and she has experiences at Adobe as well. So today we will learn and deep dive into her life journey, her story, what are the challenges she faced and what are the learnings that you can derive from our conversation. So it's going to be a fun podcast today. So stay tuned till the end of it to learn more about her life journey. And we will love to learn more about her experiences at specifically Adobe and Atlassian, but there will be a lot of information, so watch the video very carefully. And thank you so much, 𝐏𝐚𝐲, for joining in for this podcast and giving time for this channel, giving time for this podcast. And would want to ask for the very first question: what since you have worked at companies like Adobe and Atlassian, how did you apply at Adobe or Atlassian?
Okay. Thank you, Sarthak, for having me. And it's a pleasure to be here. And secondly, because in my college, like I'm from Indira Gandhi Delhi Technical University, so we get a good amount of companies at our campus. So I applied for both of the companies on campus for Adobe and Atlassian. So I applied for the companies and gave the test, got shortlisted, gave the interviews, and then I was selected.
Yeah, awesome. A very straightforward, I think, approach where companies came to your college, and congratulations for you for cracking all the interviews and everything. Yeah. So moving forward, since you did your internship at Adobe first, so what kind of exactly what was your interview experience specifically for internship? What can one expect when they've been interviewing? They are being interviewed for internship position at Adobe.
Okay, so I was giving my interview after second year because the companies come for I took 10 weeks internship in Adobe. So yeah, so after second year, they don't expect much from you that you will be knowing many things about tech or anything. So my process was straightforward. Like there was a one coding round that we had and that I cleared. I guess it was a test that was based on the 5 sections we had. I don't remember much because it was a long time back, but there was five sections that have quantitative maths and probability, and I guess 2 coding questions. One was a paragraph based. So yeah, that was the contest that we had to clear. Then some few people were shortlisted for that, and then we had interviews. And interview was only one interview that we had for the product intern that I was. So that was a coding round based. And I was asked 2 questions. One was based on I guess strings and arrays, and it was a recursion based string question, and second was based on tree.
Okay.
So yeah, so that was my pretty much the interview experience in for Adobe, and I got shortlisted for that.
Yeah, again, I think kudos to you for cracking that very sweet interview process with straightforward coding questions and then an interview round. And then for the audience listening in, very specific topics that were asked were around trees, and then you can focus more on the DSA part of it. But yeah, so you cracked the internship, you got to work at Adobe. So how was that experience all like? I have heard very good things about it, but would love to know directly from the intern, like how was that experience?
Yeah, so interview, like you said about the important questions to be asked in Adobe, but it's not true. Like every person has different approach, because one of my friends were asked totally from resume what the projects they worked upon, and they were asked only questions about their projects, and also it's not dependent that these particular things would be asked. Some also ask system design in their interviews. So it totally depends on the interviewer that what they want to ask. But yeah, if they are asking coding questions, then it won't be very tough, like DP and graphs. They don't really get into Adobe. I think that they ask pretty simple questions. I won't say simple, but simple to medium questions. Like they won't go to hard problems for the interns in the second who are given interview after second year. Yeah, and about the company experience that I had, so I was working as a product intern there for 2 months, like you can say 10 weeks at first, and it was a really great learning experience for me. Like I'm not sure that if the audience would be interested in knowing what project I worked upon, but it was based on Java, and I had to convert one application that was already written in Spring MVC to Spring Flux, basically converting a classical application to reactive application and load testing both of them. And I had to analyze that what the performance measures and metrics changed after that. So it was a great success, the project was, and it was a great learning experience for me as well, because I code in C++, but I got to learn Java, reactive Java, different frameworks, and then converted the application, then load testing part and making metrics, graphs, etc. So it was a great learning experience for me at Adobe.
Yeah, and I think that's the best way. Very wonderful story that you mentioned, how the interview experience, and then it can differ from person to person. I think that's the learning, that you cannot be very sure what is going to be asked to you,
Yeah.
based on you, based on your profile, your resume, what kind of questions can be put in front of you. So it's to cover all the bases is the best thing that you can do.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think you did a very interesting job at your internship. Uh, Generally, there are less chances that you get to work on real life based projects and in your internship, and you did a very work on a very good project, which was like converting a classical project into a React Native one. So
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of learnings, and basically I think one of the special thing that stood out was, since you were coming from C++ background and you worked on a Java based application, so that is something that audience should understand, that if you have experience in one language, but in reality you could be working on all different language, different framework, or different thing, because the skills, right, it matters, not the language that you have more confidence on, because that skills can be transitive to different language, different framework, if you have the basis strong.
Yeah, definitely. And don't get worried, because they give time for you to learn. And even if you get stuck, your mentors are always there to help you, like why you are not able to do it. So just don't get worried if you don't know anything.
Mhm.
You just, I think most of the students would be working there after the third year is completed in the internship. So yeah, I think every what we usually do when we just prepare for coding the essay and algorithms, we just do it so much so that we can crack the interviews, but we just leave behind that the web or the Android or anything, that we just leave the application based of those things, and they are equally important, like databases or application, all the subjects that we have in computer science, if you're doing a computer science engineering. So don't leave those things just to practice the essay, because those things would be the essential part that you'll be requiring in your work when you'll be doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I think it's one way to assess your skills on DSA, but the skills that you are actually working on real life applications is also important and also critical. And I think since most of you will be coming from your second or third year, at that point in the internship, all of the interns would be on the same level. So no need to get stressed out, because you are coming as an intern and the seniors are
Yeah.
out there to help you out, right?
Yeah. So just don't forget to do the development work as well, because it will help you either way. Because even if you know one tech stack, then it's easy to switch and migrate to another one.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
totally.
only the learning that I learned.
Yeah, totally makes sense. I think that's the best way. And uh, as in, how was more of the experience with interacting with the seniors and mentors out there? How was it interacting with the Adobe products altogether? And I have heard that Adobe has a good work-life balance. So how was the work culture over there?
Okay, so answering to this question, actually, even I heard about these things, but because I was a remote batch, I did my internship remotely, so we have kind of constraints in catching up with people because it's an online mode.
Mhm.
But yeah, mentors were accessible to me. Like I could ping them and they would help me. But because I was just starting out in my journey, and I was like, we have this thing that we have to make a mark and we have to get best. So I was like working exceeding beyond my working hours. So
Mhm.
that was my fault. It was not the company's fault, obviously. But yeah, if I talk about the reachability and openness, then I didn't find that much, because like I was an intern, and like I didn't reach out to many people out there. But at the end, I was able to bond well with my teammates, and it was a good learning experience for me.
Correct. I think यही होता है, when you go to internship, generally you get only this like 8-10 weeks to interact and bond with other people. So उस time
Yeah.
पे बहुत ज़्यादा stress होता है कि वो do you have to complete the project, you have to also complete the learnings, you have to also interact with your seniors and understand the things. तो उसमें networking वाला part will get low prioritized, and there are other things that are coming in between because you have college studies, you have other aspects you have to learn and upskill for the upcoming interviews and upcoming exams. So I think it makes sense because you get a very short span to work at the company, and more specifically, when you are working remotely, it becomes slightly difficult to actually grab the best out of it. Because if you are in office, then you can have those water cooler conversations. You can interact with a lot of people
Yes.
in your cafeteria and everything. But uh, I truly agree that in remote mode, it would have been slightly harsh on you in that way. But yeah, I since you
I would
mentioned.
just say that to like the students who will be applying and who will be like just joining in the internships. And so just make sure that you're just an intern. They don't expect you to know everything. And even if you think that it's just a stupid question, just ask it. Don't spend like days and figuring that out on your own like you think, because they don't think you know stupid.
Mhm.
So just ask as many questions as you can and connect to many people, because I think that it was kind of my fault that I didn't connect to many people out there, but there were a few who could make really good connections with people. So yeah, I would just suggest everyone that network with everyone and try to understand their journey, and believe in yourself and ask as many questions as you can. Don't thinking about that you'll appear stupid.
That is so true. I think one of the best advices over here, that you are joining as an intern, so nobody expects too much or everything from you. You are not as a software developer manager right now. As an intern, you will be having doubts and you are supposed to ask those questions. So feel free to ask as many questions with your mentors, connect with them, connect with the real peers out there who are working in the same internship or who are working as software developers, as full-time employees. So it's good you ask questions and you connect with the peers out there, because that's how you can really utilize your time as an internship such a big firm like Adobe.
Yeah, actually, if you connect with peers, then only you get to know the basics that how the company is working, what it will benefit you in the longer run. So even if you get internship, just don't think about that PPOC, and you shift to only this company. Just always be open to work and like learning the skills, and not keep PPO ke liye kaam karna hai. So you might not like the company or anything that you think that it's not resonating with you. So just be open to learnings and be open to learning from the others who are already working in the firm, and then make the correct choices. So
Yeah, correct. As you rightly mentioned that agenda PPO nahi hona chahiye. That would be a byproduct. The learning should be the
yeah.
agenda. What are you working on? What kind of projects? Because let's say you did it, the project and everything, but later on the next stage, जब भी किसी और company के interview में, the questions will be asked to you. What did you did in your internship? What was the project all about? Why were you doing this project? What was the problem statement? How did you solve it? Did you think this and this? तो उन सारे क्वेश्चंस के लिए यू हैव टू लर्न द थिंग्स अराउंड, यू हैव टू कनेक्ट विद योर सीनियर्स कि अच्छा हम ये क्यों कर रहे हैं, मतलब देर वुड
Hmm.
बी डेफिनेटली सम मोटिवेशन वाई दैट वुड कंसिडर दैट कि ठीक है जावा रिएक्ट में कन्वर्ट कर देते हैं इस एप्लीकेशन को, बिकॉज देर वुड बी सम ऑफ द थिंग्स जो द मैनेजर्स हैव थॉट ऑफ. बट इफ यू हैव रियलाइज दैट you will ask more questions, you will connect with your peers, then it will be better helpful and increase your chances for everything else, right? सिर्फ एक PPO का एजेंडा should not be the
Yeah.
motivation for the internship, right?
And just to correct you, it was not to Java to React, it was classical Java to reactive Java.
Yeah. I think I misspoke. Yeah,
Yeah, just, yeah.
yeah. And yeah, moving on. So you worked at Adobe, you completed your internship, then you got the again applied at Atlassian and got the internship again at Atlassian. So how was the interview experience at Atlassian and how was it different from your Adobe internship experience? Adobe
Okay,
internship.
so, yeah. So Adobe I was just applying for 2 months intern, but for Atlassian I was applying for both as a winter intern, as a matlab winter intern, 6 month intern, and as a full-time employee. So their interview process was obviously would be on a big higher scale because I'm applying as a full-time employee. So it was a coding round. Coding round that I had on HackerRank. I think it had 3 or 4 questions, and they were of medium to hard complexity. I don't remember the questions exactly, but I know that the last question was of DP, and I was just at the last moment I completed it. So I did complete all the questions, and I got selected for the interview. And then I had 3 rounds of interview process in there. First round was the coding DSA based round, and then I was asked 2 questions. One was based on like they had their own problem statement of designing and not designing, but coding. They make it appear like they're asking a very fancy question, but it like turned out to be much more that could be solved using greedy approach and so yeah, greedy and arrays and classes based question. It was the first question, and the second question, like it was similar to the deadlines that question, that is meeting rooms and time deadlines wala question that we obviously solve it when we are practicing. It was similar to that, but not exactly. So yeah, these were the 2 questions that I was asked in my first round. Then second round was the system design round, where again I had to design an API that they told me to design. And they don't expect you to code, but they expect you to lay out the whole outline of how the things would be working in a system when you design it. And it's your motive that how you take the interview into which direction that things. So because I worked in Adobe and I knew most of the things that how the things work at a higher level, so I took the interview in the way I wanted, and it continued for like 1 or 2 1.5 hour, and the interviewer was really impressed. So the second interview, I would say that I had really a great time discussing with her like how the things would be working. And the third interview was a managerial round, a managerial HR round, whatever people say. It was basically based on the values that you do your values match to the company's values. So the questions were all the values based. And I would say that my internship experience at Adobe helped me a lot in the interview process, because the second interview and the third interview, both were based on what the values like. Third was based on the values that I showed in Adobe as an intern, and they asked questions about that only. And second, also I knew how the system works and how the things are working. So that's why my internship experience helped me a lot in cracking Atlassian interview process. And yeah, so I was able to land it. And I want to give information as well, because Atlassian pays a lot of importance in the third managerial round. Like people say, okay, it's very easy to crack the values round, but Atlassian pays a very much importance to that values round, because we are very much values oriented company. And I feel that because the people I see in Atlassian, they are so good. Like I've never seen them before. So yeah, so you should be like preparing well for that interview as well. Just wanted to give a tip.
Yeah, I think thanks for the tip, and it makes sense for the audience to understand that uh, it might seem that it's a easy round as compared to your coding and DSA based questions and rounds, because you will be asking some behavioral based questions or some subjective questions that you have to answer. But what generally people fail to understand is that this is how they get to know that are you the right fit for the company or the team, are you showing the right set of values, or this is what will you do in a situation, and what is expected out of you. Because at the end of the day, there are like a couple of very good coders out there, but how do you align well with the team and the culture of the company? Is that what they are exactly looking for? Because you will get to the solution maybe by
Exactly.
asking with the seniors help, or maybe going to Stack Overflow, or maybe coming to a solution on by yourself. That will solve the purpose. But how do you well interact with the team, work on the culture part and build upon it, because that's how they have grown in numbers, is something
Yes.
they are very much keenly interested in. Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
But yeah, I think a very extensive interview process that you mentioned, that you have to clear the coding, as in the coding questions round, and then there were 3 interviews, active interviews. So again, kudos to you, heads up to you. Like you cracked all those interviews, and as you mentioned, they were like very good. And you also mentioned out that how every round has their own set of questions and with their different set of importance. But then eventually it turned out that the date has come and you have joined the company. So how was the internship experience in general? Because now it was a more longer duration internship, and you're working at a very different company. So how was that experience looking?